Mr. Mayor, we're live.
Thank you for that, David. All right, today is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. The time is 5:05 p.m. And I will now call to order the Baldwin Park City Council special meeting. City Clerk, can we get roll call, please?
Mayor Damian,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ayala,
Here.
Councilmember Avila, Councilmember Estrada, Councilmember Lozano.
Here.
Let the record reflect that Councilmember Estrada is not present at the moment.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. All right, now we're going to be moving on to public communications. Is there anyone wishing to speak?
No, Mayor, at this time, we have not received requests for comment.
For that, City Clerk, and seeing that there's no one here in the audience to speak, I will now close public communications. All right, now we're going to be moving on to the open session study session with the capital improvement projects update presented by Daniel Padilla, our Director of Public Works. Daniel, the floor is all yours.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. David, can you please bring up that PowerPoint, please? So again, good evening. The purpose of this presentation is to share with the council the projects that the city's engineering team is working on, and to get input from the city council on the projects that we're working on, and hopefully they're aligning with the city council's vision and goals. And a lot of these projects have been programmed for many years, 5, 6, 7 years. Most of these are older projects that have been programmed for a long time. Next slide. I guess we're missing a heading on that PowerPoint, but I want to just quickly touch on the engineering team. By the way, next week is National Engineers Week, and so I want to give a shout out to our engineering team. We got on our engineering teams, myself, David Lopez, our engineering manager. We have one associate engineer, 2 assistant engineers, and an administrative clerk and a part-time department assistant. So that's our engineering team. Next slide. So I wanted to touch on some of the more major, I'd say, land development projects that we're working on. And one of our new assistant engineers, Aldo Dorado, he takes care of most of these projects. So this is a full-time job for him. And David and I, oversee the work that he's doing, reviewing plans, doing inspections. And to run through these projects quickly, the Arco Service Station was one recent project, the Cesar Chavez Foundation on Ramona, the Habitat for Humanity project at Stewart in Los Angeles, which we're very close to issuing the precise or final grading plan on that project. They were very close, but they were dumping their stormwater directly into the road instead of piping it and connecting underground. So that kind of set them back a little bit, but we're almost at the point where we can issue that grading plan. We're hoping to issue it in the next couple weeks. And then we started working on some conditions of approval for the revisions they've made on their Torch and Marlinda project. Also, Kaiser has had several projects that they're requiring grading permits from us and encroachment permits. They're doing some really sophisticated projects at their complex right now. They're putting in a huge large water tank and sewer tanks so that they're a little more resilient in case there's major earthquakes or major emergencies, that they could still have water and sewer service for a couple days while those services come back online. So we're helping them a little bit on those projects that they got going on there. Also, we're working on the senior housing it's called the Central Metro Place at Central and Downing. They did some curb and gutter and paving, minor street improvements around their project that we're helping them out with. And also, Bassett Villas, we've had many neighboring residents come and discuss this project, but we're working with our community development team and with the focus on, the areas that Public Works is responsible for, mainly sewer, storm drain, water, traffic, reviewing their entitlement, documents and, helping them, through the entitlement process. And also one project that's come up recently is the Project Home Key. That's an LA County homeless development project at Francisquito and Puente. So initially, the city Public Works engineering team wasn't as involved on the on-site improvements because the LA County wanted to lead that effort and approve and review those plans. But I don't have any records of the city agreeing to that, and now they need some permits from us because they're doing work in the city right away, and we're having a few issues with some elements of their permit and their work in the city.
Daniel, really quick on that project, the Project Home Key, the Motel 6. Is that the one by the Walmart? Is that the Merced in front, Puente?
It's actually Garvey and Puente.
Garvey and Puente.
Garvey and Puente. So I misspoke. I said Francisquito, but I meant
Garvey.
Garvey.
What,
So a couple of the issues there is we want them to clean out the stormwater pump.
okay,
Their driveway is very wide, wider than a standard driveway. We want them to upgrade that to make it ADA standard. Also, there's a right of way that they need to dedicate to the city because a curb return at the corner is not in the right of way. It's on private property. And we've also asked them in accordance with our municipal code to maintain some of the parkways and some of the landscaping that is along those project frontages.
perfect.
So that's what we're working with them on.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Daniel.
Yep. All right, next slide. So some of our larger permits that we're working on include 2 middle mile broadband fiber internet projects. It's part of a state initiative to take high-speed internet to disadvantaged communities in rural areas. These lines are mostly transmission lines, but we have 2 of them that were processing here in the city. One of them was coming moved that a little bit to the north, so they're going in Los Angeles Street on one of them. Other permits we're working on is some SCE permits. We're working with our city attorney's office on some concerns we've had with issuing new poles. Our municipal code states that distribution poles serving lines that are 16 kilovolts and less need to be underground. And we're having some challenges trying to implement those municipal codes given their franchise agreements and franchise rights. So we're doing our due diligence to make sure it's reasonably necessary, working with SCE on those. And again, working with our city attorney's office. We're one of the SCE permits that's coming up soon is in Los Angeles Street, in the vicinity of Baldwin Park Boulevard, to replace some poles, and they're doing new telecommunications lines on those poles. So that's a pretty significant project in Los Angeles Street that's scheduled to start in the next few weeks. We're also permitting a Los Angeles County regional stormwater project at Bassett High School, kind of like what we did at Barnes Park, where they have big underground reservoirs at the high school. They're working with several adjacent cities, and we have to we're contributing some funding towards that project as well, part of our NPDES funds that we get. And the plans are pretty preliminary. It's a design build project, and we do have concerns regarding traffic control and some major construction going on at the southwest corner of Francisquito and Puente. Again, we're contributing I want to say about $1 million to that project in part of our NPDES funds. NPDES. So that's another major project that's kind of coming down the pipeline. It's still a year and a half or 2 years out, but we started working with them to review the plans. Another project that's been in the works for a while, the LA County is doing, is a traffic signal synchronization project on Los Angeles Street. The project's been mostly done for I want to say, years, and at least a year, maybe several months, but um, they're supposed to get started on that in the next few months. And I think, that's a great project to synchronize those signals, but it will increase travel speeds through there as you get all those lights, green and they're synchronized. Cars will drive a little bit faster through there. And then another LA County project we're working to permit is a sewer lining project at Valona Drive, Walnut Creek Parkway. They're lining some sewer trunk mains that they have, and it will also impact Puente Avenue, Big Dalton Avenue, and Francisquito Avenue. They have bypassing that they will set up, and initially they were running the bypassing through the roads, and we've asked them to instead bypass along the access roads next to the Walnut Creek Channel to minimize the impacts to traffic. So because they're in that Walnut Creek Channel, they haven't been able to get a permit to be in those channels until after the rainy season, perhaps in April. Next slide. So now I'm gonna talk about our CIP program, our projects in construction, and you're all aware of these projects, the Greenway, ribbon cutting on Saturday. Great project for the community, but there's still quite a bit of work that we have to do on those projects, even though they look complete and we went ahead and had the ribbon cutting. We do have to do our final inspections, close the project out. We're still working with the contractors on change orders and obtaining our reimbursements from the agencies that are providing us grant funding. We have a 1-year warranty typically on those projects. A lot of those projects have landscape maintenance periods that we have to monitor the plants and shrubs and trees. And if any plants or shrubs die, they have to replace them. So again, while those projects look like they're complete, they haven't been, fully closed out. So on the Greenway, we're working on resolving some change orders. And part of the problem on that one was we bid out the project before we had all the permits. The main road up to the park that wasn't included in the bid items. I think we're going to get the project done with the budget that we have, with the change orders that we have approved, but we're debating and working with the contractor, negotiating with the contractor to button it all up. And Barnes Park. So if you recall, couple months ago, I came to the council to let you know that we were considering removing the walls and the futsal court from the project, from the current contract. And we tried our best to leave it in the existing contract, but the contractor provided us escalating costs and then mentioned that the schedule would be pushed out till August. So we determined that it was best to just have them finish up their portion, finish up what we can now, exclude the futsal court and the block walls from this contract, or deduct that from the contract, and we would put the walls and the futsal court out to bid as a separate project. We're still hoping to have it done by August, and that would save the city about $500,000 if we inspect it with city staff and go out to bid as a separate project, because they were charging us $300,000 in just overhead. on top of all the other additional negotiated costs that we were working with them on. So that's the current plan, is that for us to rebid the futsal court and the block walls as a separate project. The community will be able to use 95% of the park, most of the park. We anticipate it being complete in April. So be on the lookout for that ribbon cutting date as well. And our Pacific and Bogart traffic signal and railroad safety improvement project. That one's mostly complete as well. We redesigned a couple ramps, and we've had additional handrail to make those ramps ADA compliant and safer. Also, the pedestrian gates, we have to shift the gates about 1.5 feet to provide more refuge for pedestrians and people in a wheelchair if they had to use those gates to get out of the railroad area. They're able to get out of there, and the back of the gate was in the way of the existing gates were in the way of the back of that pedestrian arm mechanism. So we're making some final revisions to those pedestrian gates. It is unfortunate because they've already been moved, once or twice. It isn't a large dollar amount, but it has delayed us. We've been speaking with the contractor and our construction manager on that, and we hope to get that resolved very soon. And quickly on the Morgan Park bathroom project, that project is done, but unfortunately we were selected. We got lucky and were selected to be audited on that project as part of our single audit. And also the State Department of Industrial Relations wanted to verify with the contractor that they were in compliance with prevailing wage laws and labor compliance. So again, even though these projects look like they're done, they're not done. So unfortunately, that one's very, very close to closing it out. Then I highlighted a couple of these projects in red. That means that we have funding that is very tight or in jeopardy of losing funding. So that's what the red highlighting means on this slide and the next couple slides. So on our sidewalk project, we're targeting 400 locations. It's keeping one of our engineering staff busy about with 2/3 of his time. Abuzar Farasati is the project manager on it, and that'll take about 2/3 of his time for the next several months. And on that project, we have two public works maintenance staff working full-time on that project to do inspections. So that's something new that we've done with having Anthony's team and the public works maintenance and operations staff help with inspections, do some cross-training. And the idea is that on future similar projects, our operations and maintenance staff can handle those projects and inspect and manage those projects. So the engineering team can focus on, more unique or larger capital projects. And that's, helping the engineering team a lot, because if we didn't have their help, it would probably take half of our staff to manage and inspect those projects. Because we have an inspector watching the demo, and then an inspector watching when they're pouring, and getting out ahead of the project, figuring out which trees that have to be removed, and just staying ahead of the contractor, still adding more locations till we get to the 400 locations that we're targeting. And also when we're inspecting and managing the projects in-house with city staff, we get much higher quality than when we hire consultants, because staff is vested and they care more about the projects than if we hire a consultant. They're just kind of out there, doing their job. And in Montenegro Park, we're starting on the wall phase of that project, we have the contract in place. We got the bonds from the contractor today, so we have the fully executed contract as of today. We're working with the Native American Indian tribe to do ground monitoring. So we're executing a contract with them so they can monitor the ground disturbance to make sure there's no artifacts or anything they're interested when we're digging the footings for the walls or doing the grading in the future. So that we received the contract from the Native American tribe, and we're almost, we're in the process of executing it, and hopefully we can start on that project next week.
Can I,
All right, next
excuse me,
slide.
can I ask a quick
Sure.
question? I'm sorry to interrupt. You said that these are highlighted red because initially you said because funding was very tight and possible losing it.
Yes.
Okay,
The-
so what are the constraints on these two in terms of the monies? Is there a
So
time limit or something?
can you go back, I guess, go back one slide? You're talking about the CDBG sidewalk project in the Ana Montenegro Park. So the CDBG sidewalk project, that one, we have to spend the funds, I think, by May. By May of this year. That was the initial scope that we put out to bid. We're hoping to do a lot more sidewalks, and we will have more time for those, but the May deadline is for the first phase, or what's actually under contract now. But I know our community development team wants us to spend that money as soon as possible. And so we're working with our contractor to try to spend that money, but it's good that we're making progress and we started spending some of that money. And the Ana Montenegro Park, that was the RMC grant. We're trying to spend those funds by March 31st. And that's on the agenda. The wall project was on the agenda last council meeting, and it's on the agenda again tonight at the regular 7 o'clock meeting to give Manny the authority to execute the miscellaneous contracts to get the rest of that work done, to try to spend that money by March 31st. And it keeps things interesting for us, you know? We gotta go. So, next slide. So I included a couple of these projects twice, once in the construction phase and once here in the design phase, because we've kind of broken them into multiple phases now. So the Ana Montenegro Park, it's in the final stages of design. The construction documents are about 95% complete. We're waiting on some grant application funding results, before going full steam ahead on that project. And we should hear back in the next couple months whether we get that grant funding from I mean, Manny and Maria know more, but I think it's some county park grant funds, and maybe some state funds as well. And as far as the Barnes Park, the part that I'm saying is in design is the futsal court and the walls, because we would be putting that out to bid. And that would be a separate project now that we've in the process of deducting it from Suzer and the current contractor. The Greenway Phase 3, that's the Big Dalton Wash greening and the Pocket Park. That project is, I want to say we have about a little over 2 million. 300,000 of that is, we're kind of past the deadline for a $300,000 portion of that project. We tried to put it into the current project that we're finishing up, the one that we just had the ribbon cutting for. But we were not able to do that. The state representative that we've been talking to, they are trying to at a program level, extend those funds for all the projects that haven't been, they haven't expended the funds. So they're doing that at a program level. So we didn't have to ask for an extension. They're trying to extend those funds at a program level. But again, that's, it's 293,000, but it's 10% of the project. So it's, I mean, it's bad, but not horrible. It's probably how I would put it. And hopefully we still get an extension on a program level that the state is working on. Correct. And that project is it's in design. The plans are about 90% complete. I think that was one that kind of got put on the back burner because of staff, staff shortages. And that project has to go to Army Corps and LA County to get permits for, because it's in a riparian habitat. It's, on the creeks on the Big Dalton Wash.
So quick
So-
question for you, Daniel, on that aspect of it is, so these projects have been in the pipeline for years, and staff and at that time knew that these funds were to be utilized before an expiration date, and they were put on the back burner.
Well, I don't know if they were put in a back burner back then, or if there was just too many projects. But when I came on board, we had 3 projects in construction. So my philosophy is projects in construction are my priority, projects in design, and then projects in the planning stages. That's the way that I operate. Because the ones in construction, you need answers immediately. You can't wait. So, these projects are, in design. So, it's been in a holding pattern for at least a year, maybe more than that. But they've been in program for many years.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that, Daniel.
Yeah. And another project that has a very tight deadline, I think it's some unique federal funds that need to be spent by the end of September. That's the traffic signals at Olive and Main and Olive and Phelan. And so those projects were kind of put on the shelf again for the same reasons, and also because they required some major or significant water main relocations by Valley County Water District. And I looked at these plans a couple months ago, and I had some concerns about the Olive and Phelan intersection and the traffic signal. So next slide, and then the council chambers is there, and we'll touch on that one after the traffic signals. Next slide. Okay, next slide. So I want to get into this Olive and Phelan signal intersection project briefly. So when I looked at the plans, there was a traffic signal here. I don't feel comfortable with the traffic signal at this location. We've had some people running red lights, some drunk drivers. And if you see the center lines of those 2 roads of Phelan and Bleecker, they're offset 27 feet. So you could have, head-on collisions if somebody ran a red light. And I think this would be a good location to put a roundabout. I know we had our previous roundabout that was proposed at Olive and Main didn't go so well, to put it nicely. But that intersection has almost twice the volume of traffic as this one. And that other one has, Olive and Main has, yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, the one at Olive and Main has 2 approaches in each direction. So a lot more traffic, 2 lanes approaching in each direction. It's more complicated. This intersection, you have the center line here, the center line there. I don't know if you could see, or if you've driven through there, it's 27-foot offset there. Coming from the east, it's 1 lane approach here. From the north to south, it's one lane approaching to the north. And then coming in, you do have 2 lanes here on Olive as you're going eastbound, but you have a trap right lane where you force everybody to go right. So then you have 1 through lane heading eastbound. So again, I think this would be a good location to put a roundabout with with some input from the community. But I'd like to hear what the council's thoughts are. And I'll touch on a couple, next slides, a couple points about roundabouts. Next slide. So I'll read this from FHWA on some proven safety countermeasures about roundabouts. Roundabouts feature channelized curved approaches that reduce vehicle speed, entry yield control that gives right-of-way to circulating traffic, and counterclockwise flow around a central island that minimizes conflict points. The net result of lower speeds and reduced conflicts at roundabouts is an environment where crashes that cause injury or fatalities are substantially reduced. And roundabouts are a safer type of intersection. They're efficient in terms of keeping people moving, even while calming traffic. They can reduce delays and queuing when compared to other intersection alternatives. They lower vehicle speeds and reduce conflict. Environment can create they can create a more suitable environment for walking and bicycling. So on the slide, I say motorists and pedestrians are, one of the reasons why people don't like roundabouts is because they're familiar with traffic signals. Signals have higher operating costs to roundabouts, and they're associated with increased crash severity with higher speeds. So roundabouts would handle those staggered roads more efficiently. They improve traffic flow and reduce delays consistently, especially during non-peak hours. They lower maintenance costs. There's an aesthetic opportunity for the middle of that roundabout to do some landscaping and boulders. They reduce vehicular conflict points, decrease severity of accidents, and they are environmentally friendly. Next slide, please. I mean, if we were to move forward with the roundabout, I mean, we would make that roundabout, look a lot nicer. That could be some type of entrance or grand entrance to the city. And per FHWA, roundabouts reduce fatal and injury crashes by 78% relative to traffic signals.
Whatever the turn, that street is very dark to begin with at nighttime. So with that roundabout, would you have reflectors or lights or something there?
Yeah, we would add lighting. We would add lighting at the roundabout. And if the council doesn't want to proceed with that, I would recommend that we leave it a 4-way stop, because I would not recommend a traffic signal. I would recommend, if we don't have the appetite to do a roundabout, to leave it a 4-way stop, do lighting, LED stop signs, do more signage and delineators to make it safer.
Well, you know what? I'm kind of curious. I think I would probably, look at the 4-way stop sign, because you have some congestion that does occur there, right? Like during the morning, during the evening, so on and so forth. And you have some dragsters that go right to that place. So maybe having the 4-way stop sign may be solution versus the turn. So at least you have all four stopping. I think with those.
Well, currently it is. Currently it is that way.
Right. That is where.
Yeah.
Wondering whether that probably is the solution with enhanced lighting, because it is dark there at nighttime. I'm just suggesting, that's my.
And I think that, I mean, I know that the roundabout on Olive and Main, but I think that there's a whole different intersection there compared to Olive and Main. Olive and Main is just too busy. And the roundabout there, I think that the bigger vehicles, just from my observations, were having too much of a hard time because they kept on going over those temporary, cones that they had there. But in this particular area, I know that there's a lot of congestion there, and there's a lot of people that just don't even stop there. And that's why there's so many traffic accidents in that area. I think that for there, it may be possible, if it's not going to impede any vehicles getting through the roundabout, that may be a good area to put one in there and then also add some lighting, because it's gonna force them to slow down versus now that you have those stop signs everywhere, people are not obeying them. And I've passed through there many times when I've seen those vehicles just drive out of those side streets like a felon.
Yeah, and we have so we talked to Bowman as our consultant on the project, and when I brought it up that I didn't recommend or agree with the traffic signal at the location, they agreed with me that it would be better to put a roundabout there. And we have a proposal for it, and the first phase of the proposal is to kind of do a preliminary design to address any potential concerns with the larger vehicles going through there. So they would lay it out and they would do some visuals, and then, you know, we could discuss with the community, discuss with the council, and then decide at that time whether we wanted to proceed with the roundabout or just leave it as a four-way stop with additional lighting, signage, striping, and but not do the traffic signal.
Mayor, yeah.
Yep.
I believe the roundabout they did at Olive, it wasn't a realistic look to a roundabout and the feel of it either. All those cones everywhere just made it confusing because you couldn't, okay, which way do I go? Which way do I follow the cones? I think the way they laid it out with all the cones was just not the correct way to give people the idea what a roundabout is. I think they're safe. I've used them in other countries and I think they work really well, and it makes the community area, it makes it look really nice. And eventually, like anything, people get used to it. Even if you do the four-way stops, which we already have, if people are not used to them, they're going to run through them at first. And they're just going to keep running through them until they get used to it. But a roundabout, I think, would look really nice. I think people were upset, again, because of the way all those cones were laid out. It was very confusing.
Yeah, and when you have two lanes approaching in each direction, it makes the roundabout a little more confusing. When you only have one lane approaching from each side of the intersection, it's a lot easier to navigate.
Mayor, I just wanted to add, I know I agree with with my colleagues. I think I mean, that's a pretty plain roundabout in the example, but it's also an opportunity to add, we have the fun, some public art in the center, and I think it beautifies the north side of Maine. I know that sometimes north side of Maine, there's not a lot of opportunity to do things just based on, you know, it's very heavily residential. And, you know, also a lot of well lit, a lot of nice lighting.
Yeah, and I did speak with Irwindale's public works manager and their city engineer. They were on board. You know, they weren't sure about the politics of it, but the engineering and public works wise, they were on board and thought it would be a good idea.
Yeah, so I know that, you know, well, I mean, so on that point, I think it's an opportunity to beautify, keep it safe, beautify it, and just offer something to the north side of Baldwin Park, which I think is important, especially in that area, because it's also the kind of the borderline between us and Irwindale. On the politics side, I know that it gets heavily political, and I know a lot of times residents aren't very happy with decisions, but ultimately, I mean, I think this is a data-informed decision, right? We're looking at data-based information. You know, when we have more accidents, our insurance rates go up, which I think is something that's already people are upset about. It makes it safer. I know we just had, I think, 2 collisions yesterday, pedestrians, and we've had a couple. So I'm sure that if we really put our data together and we look at the records of, you know, why we're doing what we're doing, and ultimately, you know, it's yes, it slows us down a little bit, but you know, but it keeps us alive longer, and I think that's one of the most important things for our
Yeah,
community.
and it slows us down a little bit, but a lot of the times, like if you're on the main street on Olive, you might not, if it's not busy, you won't have to stop. With the traffic signal, you might get a red light.
Yeah.
But if you're going through a roundabout, you might slow down a little bit, but you're gonna keep moving through there.
Yeah, and I think it also helps with that, keep that area, because it is heavily residential and school wise, so it keeps, you know, people going there if they live there, if it's for residential reasons or for the school. And it stops a lot of people from using that as a bypass for, you know, as a detour for other things, and I think it helps. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good. And when do you have to spend the funds for this intersection?
We have to spend it by September 30th. So it's it would
So
be
it's
another
pretty fast.
fast-paced project.
So I think that
Surprise,
the
surprise.
council has an appetite
Mm.
for the roundabout option. So maybe we can get some options as to what we would put there other than a traffic signal. And then When would we be able to get this out to the community if we have to spend the money by September?
Yeah, so I think the first step would be signing that proposal so that our consultant can get started on it. I'm thinking they could turn it around pretty quickly. They're doing a preliminary design, and then they would present a couple options for the landscaping and for the for the art or landscaping in the circle.
So do you need a consensus from the council in
Sure.
reference to the roundabout?
Yes,
Do you want that now?
sure.
Are you guys in consensus for them to start with the roundabout? Yeah. All right, you got your
Okay.
consensus on that.
That's good. Thank you. All right, next slide. So speaking of deadlines and challenges. So as you are aware, the council hired the city hired La Cañada Design Group several years ago to design the council chambers project. The project was bid in October of 24. The bids came in high and the city council decided to put the project on hold and come up with some options to move the project forward. One of the reasons I talked to a couple of the contractors, one of the reasons I got why the bids came in high was that we only provided 120 working days, which is 6 months. So a couple of them said that ideally they would have had at least twice as long to finish the project. So that was one of the main factors why the projects came in high. You have to spend $6-7 million in 6 months. You're gonna have contractors, on top of contractors in here trying to get everything done. So it was a very aggressive schedule. I know we want to minimize the disruption to the council chambers, but we're in a tough situation where to bring down the cost, we could provide more working days, but also we need to spend the money by December 31st. So that's a challenging predicament that we're in. We've thought about maybe typically we don't pay for equipment and supplies until they're incorporated or installed on the project, but one option that we've considered is maybe having the contractor purchase equipment and supplies and paying for them before they're incorporated into the project. I think Councilmember Stradas volunteered his giant office to stage equipment and supplies in while the contractor gets going. No, but so that was one option for the equipment and supplies to pay for them upon delivery and not upon incorporating into the project. And also we thought about maybe pre-qualifying contractors. So the last time we bid the project in October of 24, we got 2 reasonable bids. One of them was like double the rest of the bids, and 2 of them were unresponsive. So really we got 2 bids. So one thing we would consider might delay us a tiny bit up front if we pre-qualify the contractors. So there's a process that we can do to pre-qualify the contractors. We issue a responsibility statement questionnaire. We check the company's financials, and then only pre-qualified contractors would bid the project. So that's an option. We'd also like to consider hiring a limited term in-house or city construction manager to focus on this project. So we would hire them for a 1-year period, and that they would focus only on this project, and they would have expertise in facilities and building and architectural construction.
And then really quick, Daniel, on the hiring of the limited term in-house construction manager, would that position be paid from your unrestricted funds? From funds that you have available, or from general fund?
No, that would be the idea would be that it would be paid for by the project, the
Project
funds, for
overall
the
cost.
CIP project.
Got it,
Either
okay.
ARPA funds or ARPA funds would be the
So
best choice.
The money that we would use to build the, and I
Right.
like that idea because they're going to hold the people accountable. And with others, just learning from prior projects, we pay these consultants or these outside construction managers that are supposed to be overseeing the project. And I don't think they're doing the job properly. So I like that idea.
So do I.
Okay, so those are just, a little bit of background, and then our engineering manager, David Lopez, is gonna kind of get into the weeds a little bit on the project and provide some recommendations for the council to consider.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, staff. I'll be presenting to you the City Council chambers recommendations for scope changes. And so in this project, we want to, with the changes that we'll be making, also want to preserve the vision of the project while saving time and money. Next. So the core part of this scope is doing the council chambers, which includes the council vestibule, the restrooms, which also serve the Zocalo Park, city council conference room, city council chambers restroom, the audio video room, which would include the audio video upgrades, because currently audio video from when it was bidded out is now obsolete. Can't get the parts. This would cost in the previous bid, it came out at 4.46 million. And this was at October 2024. So costs haven't gone up as much from that time. So these costs would be about the same. Recommendation number 1. So please go next. Okay, so for this one is to do the removal from scope, the 3rd floor renovation improvements, which include the terraces on the 3rd floor, the interior work areas, and the air handlers on the split level of the 3rd floor. And all this work is about 2.7 million in accordance with the estimates from the last bid. Recommendation next, please. So this one is a little unique. So instead of removing and replacing the whole system, we would refurbish the existing AC system. So this one, we looked at it a little closer and found that the bones are pretty good, and it really just needs to just be upgraded. And as part of this upgrade, we would add mini splits, which are little AC units for the council chambers, council conference room. And next, please. And this would save us about $300,000. So in recommendation number 3, so this is it's a reduction in the scope, is to remove the ADA exterior ramp, which would be along this wall, and the door, also this wall, and the windows behind us, which are right now dual windows, and that's the scope indicates that it would be one large window for each side. Next, please. So this is the location as shown here on this on the plan view. So it'll be the exterior ramps, exterior door, windows, and all of this would be at a cost of about $100,000 in savings. Next, please. So this one is a little unique because it's a small area. It's the utility mechanical room right on the back side of the council chambers. And this one has a lot of little things that require a lot of different trades, special equipment, training to be able to relocate all these items like the water heater, diesel pumps, diesel fuel system monitoring for leakage, communications, floor sinks, and some utility chases that would need to be relocated. So it's a lot of work, and this would be about 100,000. Next, please. And this one's recommendation number 5. So this one is instead of reducing, it would be added. And this is recommended so we can do the expenditures by the December 31st deadline. And it's to do the restrooms in the basement, the first floor, and the second floor. We wouldn't touch the third because that's part of its own unique and but consider it a separate phase in itself. And this would save us about, including the addition of this extra work, between 60 to 90 working days. And the overall cost is about $3 million. So that's that would be the savings, and not the savings, but the reduction in the total scope. And one of the reasons why we want to take out the third floor from just bidding it out is that the third floor took a lot of time in the last bidding, and they didn't concentrate as much on the council chambers. So we expect that we'll get a better bid just because they'll have more time to bid it and concentrate only on the council chambers work scope. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Does anybody have any questions? No? So I'm sorry, David, I'm a little confused.
Yes, sir.
So I did follow through the slides that you had with recommendations 1 through 5.
Yes, sir.
So I heard third floor, second floor, first floor, basement. So what is your overall, I'm sorry, I'm just very lost. I'm trying to figure out a way to say this. So what is your overall recommendation for the chambers itself? And what would you estimate the cost with eliminating, as an example, the outside ramp and the door back here? Because that's going to be very costly, right? So, but if we remove this side here and remove the windows from the front,
That was about 100,000, just under 100,000 for the penetrations through the wall, ramp, and penetrations of the windows for the back. That was one of the estimates.
Yes, if I may, the main recommendation is to remove all the improvements we're gonna do on the third floor. That's 2.7 million. The HVAC system, I think we estimated at 300,000. The door and the ramp, I think we estimated it at 50,000. And then the bathrooms was the only thing. The bathrooms were already in the project as an additive alternate. So we're recommending let's just go ahead and do the bathrooms.
got it.
So everything else, the main thing was the third floor, eliminating all the work on the third floor.
And then these main walls.
Yeah.
So then by eliminating all the work on the third floor, that's 2.7 million, 50,000 for this outside ramp and door, and then $300,000 from the, what was that?
The HVAC,
HVAC.
refurbishing the HVAC instead of replacing the unit.
So that would,
The walls.
And then we would be including the restrooms that were already bid as an additive alternate.
the ones out here,
There was
No.
multiple bathrooms.
on the
Yeah, so
basement.
on, let me see, the slide with the city council chambers, can you go back where it says the core scope of work?
But
Okay, so this is the council chamber.
I'd like if we can, maybe let's finish up. I think we're pressed for time. I'd like to go, David, if you could go get past this. I think we have one more slide for projects in the planning stage. I'd like to touch on those projects really quickly, and then we'll open it up to any other questions.
Yep, go
So
ahead.
let's see, where was I? So these are other projects that we have programmed that are in the planning stages. And again, 2 of them have funding deadlines. I'm gonna touch on them pretty quickly. Traffic signal and high intensity crosswalk beacon system at Garvey and Vineland and the I-10. Roadside Park, Los Angeles pavement rehab project. I'd like to do some other improvements on Los Angeles Street because that's our least safe street in the city. I don't want to say dangerous, but it's our least safest street. And Pavement management system update, citywide pavement maintenance project. Baldwin Park Transit Station, we have a traffic signal programmed at Route and Puente. It's a funky intersection where Chetney and Central also come in. That one might be another one for a roundabout consideration there, but we'll leave that for another day. We have a quiet zone railroad projects to finish up at McDevitt, Merced, and Foster. We even have one on the books for Francisquito. The first three there would help us achieve the quiet zone. And then we have a lot of traffic signals that need to be upgraded. They have permissive left turns instead of protective left turns, like Baldwin Park Boulevard and Ramona, where you go when you get a chance where there's a break in traffic, as opposed to getting a left arrow and getting a protected left turn. So next slide. I want to run through Los Angeles Street real quickly. It's the least safest street. We did a systemic safety analysis report, a local road safety plan, September of 2018. The west side of Los Angeles Street sees 20,000 vehicles per day. The east side sees 9,000 vehicles per day. In the 3 years from 2015 to 2018, we had 66 collisions, 31 broadside collisions. Again, it's our most dangerous street. And I am recommending that we install medians in that street and we restrict left turning movements to signalized intersections only. Several residents have asked for us to paint their curbs red because they can't see when they're exiting the driveway because cars are parked on the road and cars are going 50, 60 miles an hour. It's very dangerous. Next slide, please. So this is what we have right now, except for we do have parking in a lot of the segments. It's a two-way left turn lane, and we have 2 lanes in each direction. That's what we have today with parking. Next slide, please. This could be one option. On the east side of the city, it would work, but not on the west side because we have too much traffic to accommodate. We can't accommodate 20,000 vehicles per day with only 1 lane in each direction. Next slide, please. So this is what we're recommending to do: a center raised median in Los Angeles Street, have 4-lane roadway. You'd have left turn lanes at the intersections, that those intersections are signalized, and then the council could consider parking or no parking, but it would make the streets much safer. Next slide, please. Having a median there would reduce conflict zones. So the one on the left shows no median. You can turn left, you can go left in, left out. It's just a lot more complicated. If you have a median there, it's right in, right out only to the driveways and side streets, making it much safer. Kind of like you have here in downtown Ramona. Next slide. So this shows Los Angeles and Merced. If we were to put a median, you'd have the full normal traffic signal at Los Angeles and Merced, but on Jerry Avenue to the right, you would have, that would be a right in, right out only to access Los Angeles Street. Some businesses, I'm sure, would be upset, but again, it would be safer for the community. Next slide. All right, sorry, went a little bit longer, but ready to answer any questions. If you guys have direction on the council chambers or any questions on the council chambers, that's probably the one we'd like some direction on, and any other ones that you guys have any input on, we're happy to receive it.
Mayor, really quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. I actually really love the idea of improving Los Angeles Street. It's long overdue. Safety wise and aesthetic wise, I think it's a great idea to get that project going. It's very much needed. And also, I think, I know you said all the things that you want to remove to save money. And maybe next time show us what the chambers is going to look like again, because it's been a while. And also the pavement outside of the chambers, nothing's going to be done with that. Those ugly rocks that we have out there that are slippery in the rain.
Yeah, so that was in the project to remove that and do concrete, and we were not recommending any changes to the aesthetics or the interior finishes of the chambers. So that none of that was changing. I know there was talks about redesigning it, but we did not proceed with the redesign. So everything that's in the project was going to remain as is. Only what David mentioned for removal is what we'd be removing.
Okay, so if you can send us or get us the pictures and designs of the inside of the chamber again, because actually I don't remember anymore. I don't know if you guys do. But I'm okay with removing the door, or the windows. And as long as we fix the outside of the chambers, adding pavement and getting rid of the stone, that would be good.
So we give you direction on the roundabout. Do you need direction on what we would prefer to see on Los Angeles Street?
Yeah, I mean, any input you guys have on any of the projects we mentioned, we're happy to receive
So-
it. And we could,
I like,
Yeah.
Let's start with Los Angeles Street. I think that's a really great idea. I love the raised center median. There, I think it's great, and it's aesthetically, it would be a boost over there. Just one question. These trees that you have on there, are these teaser trees or are they gonna be that big?
this.
not to begin with or not.
This is just right now, it's just an idea. So
Got it.
long ways away from that. We could put any tree you want in there. I mean, we will look at the width of it and see which trees would thrive in that reduced area. I mean, I don't have an exact width. I don't know if the median's 8 feet or 12 feet. It would depend on if we're removing parking or not,
Got it.
on how wide we can make the median.
Okay. How does the council feel about the center medians?
Here.
I love it.
I was
Go
just gonna, so I think it's great. I mean, obviously that's a very important street. I do ride my bike down that street sometimes because we do have the entrances to the Emerald Necklace there. And I agree that it's not the safest street, especially at night. It's really dark. So those are important. The only thing that I do worry about is taking out all the parking, because I think a lot of those homes don't have a driveway, at least not within that street. There's going to be a bigger issue, right? And then all of what they're going to end up doing is that they're going to try to park in the smaller streets across the street. So that's the only concern. That's the major concern I would have. But I think the center median and putting in more greenery, especially along all that blacktop and curbing the
It'll cool the area.
island heat effect, I think would be great.
And I was just going to add to, it sounds as though there's some issues there. He identified it as the least safest, and that from a liability standpoint, it would be important to at least address those issues in some way. It sounds like it's a good option, but to not do anything would be not a good idea.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
thank you. I first of all, thank you, Daniel, for the total presentation, and David, I appreciate all the information you gave us. Regarding Los Angeles Street, because I'm very familiar with it, and I visit it often, walking it, and it is very unsafe. I would agree. I agree with the raised median, but I agree with Councilmember Estrada in the sense of the parking will be an issue, and they've already spilled on into other streets. I can tell you that for a fact because I've got parents who live on Los Angeles Street, and they're parking every other little street around there. So that's going to be a major issue in terms of taking all parking. There's a lot of apartments along there, so that's going to be a concern. But yeah, if any kind of attention we can give to Los Angeles Street, I know that it would be gladly welcomed. You said you were going to take any comments, so I'm going to really quickly go through mine real quick. Any kind of decision we make on the chamber, I'm with the council on that. And then I just want to acknowledge Public Works, and they're working with kind of checking on the sidewalk projects. I appreciate that. I'm a hands-on learner, so I appreciate you front loading knowledge to our staff so that they in turn can use that skill and help us out by saving us, and they have ownership in the project and checking it out. So I really appreciate all of that. I think that's my comments right now. Thank you,
Perfect.
Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Lozano, do you have any comments you want to make?
No, I'm excited because as all of us here, I mean, Los Angeles definitely needs to be redone. It's basically a thoroughfare for the neighboring cities.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I guess, you got council consensus that we do want to look into the improvements, especially the safety improvements on Los Angeles Street. And then just keeping in mind whatever design you bring back, the parking situation there. So if you can, so you got full consensus from the council to move forward with the Los Angeles Street. And then as far as the chambers goes, I think that's going to be a more lengthy conversation. So I think what would be a good idea is maybe bring it back to us so that we can get also refreshed on what the design's going to look like. And then from there, we can start eliminating, because I think, I mean, if you're telling me that we're eliminating already over $3 million, if I'm not mistaken, I think the cost was a little under 5 million to construct. Yeah,
The-
the chamber,
the-
when they brought it
The
to us.
prices have gone up.
Project, including the third floor and all the additive alternates, was, I have the bids here. We had two reasonable bids.
How long are those bids good for?
One was 8.3 million. That was, the same contractor that did the Zocalo.
How long ago was that?
And
Was
that
we
was
took-
October of 24, and the other bid was
Bids are
8.9
gonna be different
million.
now.
So, okay, so when they brought us, so when we turned that bid down or when we went back out, they didn't give us the whole 8 million with the third floor. They just brought us a chamber. So if you guys, when you bring it back, I think a good idea would be bring it back to us with the design options you think that we should go with, eliminating certain items from there so that we can see what's the lowest that we can bring this chamber remodel down to. Okay? Rose, you have a question?
May I make a quick comment,
Sure, go.
Mayor and City Council? I just want to emphasize, I have been talking to Daniel very closely and to my staff to see how can we move the ARPA fund around to accommodate with some other project or program. So give him some more time, but there is not much room for us to go to other places. We have obligated $4.2 million to the council chamber. Now it's February already. We really don't want to lose the funding. We might be able to move around about $500,000 to a later date that use other fund for that, but we need to spend about 3.8 million by December of this year. Just like Daniel say, we buy some equipment, something. With all those projects he's talking about, we talk about to point out the projects that have the grant limitation date. We don't want to lose the grant, the few item in red. So I told him, we really need to focus on council chamber. If other thing not emergency need, so we are not going to lose the 4.2. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
Thank you,
Me
Mr.
too.
Rose. Thank you for, and yeah, I completely agree. I think that, you know, look, all the projects that we have in the pipeline are priorities, right? We all want everything done, but I think that the way you said, you know, construction, design, and then planning phase. I think what we need to do is focus on those projects where we're at risk of losing funding for, because we're not going to get this opportunity again for the council chambers. So I think that, you know, I don't know if Manny, Daniel, if we can bring the council chambers to the next council meeting, so that we can start moving quick on it and decide which, you know, at that time, all of us as a council decide which option we're gonna go with and what the cost is gonna be, so we can get moving on this, because I would hate to lose this money.
Very
Are we good
good.
with that?
Yes, we have our marching orders.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, so that wraps it up for the presentation, because we got to go into closed session. Does anybody?
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you to Public Works for being ready for that storm. I appreciate you guys always being ready for the community and always being out there working for our community. Thank you.
Yes. And thank you, Daniel, for that attention to detail, because I really do appreciate that. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, I mean, I know that we're running short on time, but I just want to reiterate the importance of making sure that we hire. I know you're talking about hiring people temporarily, so I think that's one of the most important things. I think for the most part, council's been very supportive of our staff, and, you know, we don't have a just figure it out mentality, which I think is great, right? We're very supportive of staff. We want to see things get done, but we also are aware that we have human beings working behind our city hall. So just, you know, I really want to encourage staff to take advantage of that, right? We want to make sure that we're getting things done, and but also, you know, being able to delegate those things and hiring the support that we need. So good thinking. Thank you for all the work, because I know you're really busy since day one, so appreciate it.
All right, so now we're going to be going into closed session. David, can you shut down the video, please?